Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today we're going to be building a snowy mansion. So, if you need some sort of just mansion, and if you're in a snow biome, then this is a perfect match. So, before I begin, remember, please like and subscribe, and without further ado, onto the tutorial. So, we're going to be using a massive palette here, because last time I kinda did not very well on this. I'm going to try to make this the best possible build I can, without going to like extreme territory, like extreme geometry, like there. So, what we're going to be using is several deep slate ores. Try to get the more common ones. Don't push yourself with diamonds and stuff. Just get some iron, some redstone, some gold, the more common deep slate ores. Then, while you're down there, get some cobbled deep slate and turn the majority of that into deep slate bricks. Smelt some of those down to get cracked deep slate bricks, and that will be the foundation. For our landscaping, we're going to be using spruce leaves, and I do recommend building some spruce trees around, but of course that can be a little difficult, so you could just grab yourself some saplings. Then, we're going to be using birch, spruce, dark oak, and warped planks. The first one for the floor, the two for the walls and accents, and the fourth one, the warped, we are going to be using on the roof. Since that's an old copy of this, I'm going to be, just making this better but similar. Then some glass, so that way we have windows. And then finally some oxidized copper, which can be substituted for light blue concrete, and I have a feeling I might do that. Then find yourself a massive flat area like this. I do recommend just chopping down the area. And then what you want to do is start making a frame. So it's going to take a moment for this to load. But you saw how I had that snowy mansion over there. And you want to kind of make it the shape of this. So you can see how it is from a vertical view. However, you should make the front part longer and the back part shorter. Then you now have a nice little foundation to start off with. So, I now have a foundation, and you may have noticed that I've layered it into just tiny little segments that all come to a coherent shape. And the reason for this is that's where our support beams and like framing are going to be. And in order to handle that, then what we need to do is just place a couple of blocks in front of it, so that way we know. And since our accent block is going to be dark oak planks, then we can just place those in front of it. Then make your foundation about 4 blocks high using your deep slate bricks. So, foundation basics complete. Now what we want to do is add some cracked deep slate bricks arcing through this. So imagine you see some rocks, okay? Some gravel outside. And, there's some rocks, big ones, nice and smooth. And then there's a little gravel in between. Now imagine those rocks are like much closer together and the gravel is cracked deep slate bricks. And once you do that, then just imagine that in your head as you're placing this, and then you can imagine the non-cracked portions are big rocks while the rest is gravel. With our barely noticeable cracks in the foundation, it's now just a little bit more lifelike. And in order to add to this effect, what we want to do is make some parts bend inward a little. So kind of like this, some will cracks like actually affecting the surface. And then occasionally what you want to do is straight up just destroy part of it. And whenever you do that, you place some cobbled deep slate behind that. And within that cobbled deep slate, place down some ores. So make sure you make some of these fissures, and whenever you do, fill them up with ores. And another thing, you might want to replace them with just normal deep slate rather than cobbled deep slate, so that way the texture just looks a little bit better along with the ores. But cobbled deep slate usually looks better otherwise. So the foundation now has ores and deep slate in it, and it looks a lot more worn down, but at the same time, provides little pops of color with the ores. And albeit quite a bit will be covered up by the landscape, still, some of the things you don't see are the things that make builds good. So, next you want to have the landscape placed in, and you kind of want it to look a bit like this, but that's a little too simple. You can remove the sides of it like that in order to make it a bit more detailed. So, do this around, and you could make it taller too. And one final thing about landscaping is don't forget to include a little bit of freestanding stuff. So, just little hedges like this, perhaps even a small statue of yourself made out of leaves, albeit it would have to be a Minecraft player because, blocks. But try to add some of this. It really adds to the build and that someone lives here. With the landscaping done, we can now see we have a very nice base to this place. We got some spruce leaves, well really just a lot of spruce leaves, some little details on the foundation, and if you're just walking by, you might not notice some of them from afar because they're buried so deep, but whenever an ore peeks through, that's just something nice. So, by doing all these little things, albeit some of them won't be very consequential, they really add up, so I heavily recommend doing this part. Now, on top of all this part, then you want to place down some birch planks, and this will make up our flooring. So if you place down a deep slate ring like I did, or just starting from where you placed your deep slate, place birch planks on top of that, and then just continue and make just a one block smaller on all axes version of your foundation. So that way you just have a place. Don't forget to place some lighting down there so that way no mobs show up, because we'll revisit that. Some birch planks now in place. Now we can finally work on these little framing bits. So, start by placing some light blue concrete, well not concrete, terracotta, or oxidized copper on top of them. You could also go with waxed normal copper. Then, once you do all that, check around your little things like this, the little engraves. Make sure none of them expose to the air above. If none of them do that, then you can make this dark oak planks. If they do, then you have to make those parts have deep slate bricks. So, I intentionally didn't build any of mine going up, albeit that's a little bit of a mistake. Still, just, being safe. And loop this around. Place down light blue terracotta, surround those, then add some stairs on either side, so that way they're a bit more rounded. Then, once you reach a corner, an outwards facing one, then you get a slab. Place two of them right here, and now you know how to make our little framing part. With the first floor's framing done, now we need to introduce two new blocks to the palette, because if you haven't noticed how lopsided this was, it's because I was forgetting some blocks, which I already accounted for. So, get yourself some dark oak stripped logs and spruce stripped logs, and whenever you had one of those foundation things, well the frames, then place down some dark oak stripped logs there. You can make it 4 or 5 blocks tall. It doesn't really matter, because it's probably going to be covered up. So I'd actually just stick with 4. And, it's just a difficult situation if you don't want to have the ceiling also be the floor. So, that's just poorly worded now that I think about it. But anyways, make it 4 or 5 blocks tall. So, we got our little supports. So, I made them 5 blocks tall. I did a very bad job of explaining that last part. And also, on the corners here where I said place slabs, I changed it to full blocks. So, I do recommend changing that part. Now what we want to do is placing down some stripped spruce logs, not like that, but like this. So, when you're near a door, replace your blocks with the wood version. And that's created by a 2x2 in your inventory, and now they have the log texture on all sides. Place that block there because we're going to have a door later. And we just want to place this around. Once you're done with that part, then go all the way up to the top of these, and you want to place down spruce planks in the middle. So, like this, we'll add windows later. So, as you're doing this, go on the outside and place down some dark oak planks like this on top of the stripped logs. So, that'll just assist us later. And you could even start by placing terracotta on top of that. Make sure that you keep the same accent between floors. So, if you had the 5 block tall ones, then you actually did good. If you have 4 block tall, no issue. So, we can start by doing the accents there. Then, on the doorway, just make a little frame around that. So, very simple. Alright, we got framing, we got walls, and this place is really coming together on the exterior. We'll do the entrance once it's time to do the interior. And what we want to do is basically repeat what we just did. So, we do our accents, we make the ceiling of this place completely out of spruce planks, and then we just make some birch planks. So yeah, just an exact replica of what we have down there. And now is also a good time to place some torches, which you should only do on the dark oak parts. Then, once you have that, repeat the accent stuff. So, yeah, it's really just a game of copy and paste, so I'll speed through it. So, we have just another floor ready to be constructed, and yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. But there is one thing to account for, and that is the size of the roof. So, the roof size might be changed, but in order to account for it, count how many blocks this is for your own build. So, that's 3, this is also 3, so 4, and both sides being 8 plus 7, and now we have a 15 block wide roof. So, starting from the back of this, count 15 blocks from the very edge. And once you do, you want to convert the rest into balcony. So, you can see that's how wide the roof is. So, if we're going to have it be a similar design to the last one, so just a quick overview of that, you can see what I've done here. So, we need that in order to create our own balcony. So, that's just a little tidbit. Remember to leave this here and start your walls starting from this part instead of here. So, we got a balcony in place, and now it's time to start work on the roof, which is by far the most difficult part of this build. So, don't be worried because, it's just a roof. If we mess it up a little, it's not too intricate, so it's quite easy to fix it. So, what we do is we start by going backwards on top of these walls, placing some backward stairs, upside down too. Then place stairs off those, place stairs on top of those, and now we have a proper base. So, loop that around, and once you get to a place like this, then you just kind of end it off. You could go 1 block outward, but I'm not entirely sure how to feel about that. That's just a personal choice for you. So, loop it around, and whenever you reach a side like this, then you want to just end it off. Make a big wall in its place. So, a little complicated, but I'll be sure to explain it. So, here we have our roof design, and you can see I have 2 different styles, and that's to show you a new design. So, most of you are probably familiar with this taller roof design, where you can place a block in between the 2 stairs you place to make a roof. However, that's a really tall thing, so this middle block is the middle point, and you can see that's kind of disproportionate. So, what do? Instead, we just transition to a normal roof design after a certain point. This might still be a little bit too tall, but the idea is that we shorten the roof. So, you should start building these little endpoints, make them 2 blocks thick, And once you do that, then we can start actually making the nice warped planks part that we can see over there. So, one of the important things while building a roof is finding where it will go. And what I mean by that is where we're going to build it. So, I've kept this line of tough here because that's how wide the roof is. So, we need to find the middle. So, if that's 2 blocks in, and right here is 2 blocks in, calculate the middle. So, just go inward. Now we found the middle. Go all the way up to where you have the top of your roof, which should be connected by a slab, and go over this area. So, calculating a little, and then you just go across like this. And now we know where the roof is going to go, and we can connect the 2 frames. So, our roof framing is going along good. We have the bottom part, which loops around, kind of like this, around the wall so that way it meets up. And we have the top part, which is shaped a lot like an H, and it allows us to build much better. So, what you want to do is make these frames 2 blocks thick. For the top part, place a slab on top, an extra stair, so it's visually 1.5. Then, what you want to do is fill it all in with warped planks and their stair variant. Once they're 2 blocks thick, it should look a lot better. If you make it not 2 blocks thick, then, of course, it's going to look a little out of place because the framing will just be too small. So, if you do this, then you can see how it already looks a little too close to the edge, especially with that bottom piece. So, always make it 2 blocks thick, and then just fill it in. So, an entire warped forest down later, we now have a roof. And the next step is incredibly simple. You might have to extend the accents a little bit more, but we just want to add big walls here. So imagine you're just building another wall. So it actually wouldn't go right there. And also you do want to add a ceiling to all this. So just a nice spruce ceiling, and no need to add an extra floor up here. So we now have our little walls in here, and we just want to add windows to them. So nothing really to it, just add windows. We got some windows up here, and what we want to do is turn the area behind them into real rooms. And, well, going down a couple floors so that way it's visible. We just want to have roughly the same design we have in here. So, yeah, nothing too special. Just make sure there's a genuine room behind there, even if it's completely empty and has a spruce floor. So, we got these windows here. They lead to rooms that are completely empty. You can fill these up with just about anything. However, we're going to dedicate the basement for storage. Now, what you want to do is fill up the interior with whatever you need. So, just going over to this gift house for an example of things you'd need. You'd need stuff like smithing tables, stone cutters, a world map would be nice, some netherwort, brewing stands, furnaces, music discs, some tables and chairs, an enchanting table, along with a barrel that contains lapis above it, which I did not fill, beds, and we're going to do storage later. And if you're really strapped for ideas, perhaps get a nice composter and fill it with endermites. And yeah, that's a very good idea, by the way. You should really do that. Don't forget to add windows to let in some natural light, too. So, I said I was going to cover the entrance, and here's the entrance idea. Instead of just going with the stereotypical staircase up, because that's just really common and overused, I feel. Instead, what we can do is do a more interesting entrance. So what we do is we place down a block at the doorway, then place 2 stairs on either side. We go down, place supporting blocks for those, and once we get to a certain point, we extend those blocks inward, and then we place stairs on them. Well, we place down more blocks, and we place stairs on those blocks, and then we can go all the way down after a certain point. So, just like that, we're able to get a more unique entrance. So, what you do is you provide it a little more framing, pretend it's like, more of part of the build, and you do the area behind it. So, quite simple. During the construction of this place, here are a couple of concepts just to run you guys through. One, if you want to divide something, don't forget trapdoors exist. Dark oak trapdoors are probably one of the best blocks in the entire game, so I heavily recommend using them. There are spiral staircases, a nice classy way to get up, and you start by just placing down a slab, make a block out of those slabs, and then remove the bottommost slab and go up, so that way we have in-between blocks, and we just coil it upwards. The fake floor here, we have double layered floors, so that way we can have this going on, where the actual floor is wool, but we have a carpet edge, so that way we can build on it. Then we got some deep slate area, because you can change the floor just like we did here. Now for the main thing I want to discuss, fireplaces. In order to build a fireplace, I recommend using bricks. In order to do it, don't forget some netherrack and some flint and steel. And once you do that, what you want to do is replace the ground with some flint and steel, netherrack, and maybe just a small area around it so that way we don't ignite anything. Place down a couple of blocks, then some stairs. Then we just encase all this up. Perhaps make it a little closer to the wall. This is a bit large, so actually make it a little bit smaller. But the idea is we go up and now we have a chimney, which if we do this right, then we have a nice chimney that goes all the way up. So we're doing pretty good on the interior. We got quite a few things in here. We got a small library, a little banquet thing, a carpet we can put stuff on, a little amethyst display, not very good, but still. And downstairs, of course, we have some armor stands. And fun fact, in Java Edition, you can actually slash give someone's head. So, of course, myself, please do not include netherite armor in your builds. It's just too expensive. We got, the jukebox. We got some netherwort with some fancy trapdoors over it. Even some mangrove roots that are waterlogged that we have coral on. So, yeah, just a lot of things in here. So the next thing we need to do, and the final part of this build, is we need to make the ceiling of this place deep slate bricks along with the walls, because this is the storage area. So our place is looking very incomplete, and now what we want to do is just make a deep slate tile floor, and I do recommend adding cracks to each of the walls, along with making the bottommost block some polished deep slate. And in one section, we want to replace the ground with polished deep slate, and the wall should be looking approximately like this, according to that floor. So place the polished deep slate accordingly, and replace your ceiling with stairs. Now that might sound kind of weird, but trust me, it actually really works. So if we place our stairs like this, it prevents you from, having a weird looking top part, while also having it be openable. Despite it clearly not being able to be open, stairs are technically transparent, so you can definitely open them. So, that's how you want to do it. So, finally, we have the basement done. Very quick, I didn't cover every single thing, but in the area where we have the polished deep slate, of course we have the stairs upside down so we can place chests. And if you need more, we got a ton of room to expand. Then we got some tiles down here, some of them are cracked. And then a desk, paintings around, a book on the desk, lanterns. But then we have this little entrance outside, which you could definitely attach to some gardens. Then we got the chimney, the accents, So we got a ton for this build. So we got the basement finished, and well, it's nothing too spectacular. It's just a lot of chests, some paintings, a nice table, and I kind of sped through it, but in reality, there really isn't that much to cover. If you're able to get through this top part just fine, then this should be a breeze. And if you need more storage, well, you got a ton of room to expand on either side. So this house can last you all the way until you build a mega base, or if you're not one of those mega base kind of people, a forever home. Then, a little thing that I accidentally skipped over, but just, I'm coming back to it, the balcony. And nothing too cool going up here. We got a fence with some dark oak trapdoors on it and a couple of chairs. Nothing too cool, but this build is now done. So, we have this build done, and it's looking very nice. The unique shape really just works well for it. And it has a good interior, and a wide variety of tactics used in it. We got landscape, we got hidden ores, we use a basement for something, and it might be too dark for my mobile users, I'm sorry. And, well, we got a very large interior for whatever you might need. So, if you have a snow biome nearby, I heavily recommend building this. And it works as a very good base of operations if you have the resources necessary. And with that, it's the end of today's video, along with the 12 days of Gearsaw for 2022. So, I've uploaded 12 videos back to back, and I've had to do a month of preparation. At least that's, double the amount of time I gave myself last year. But still, it was kind of tough. So, if you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. And with that, enjoy your Christmas or other holidays. Gearsaw out.